What the fuck? I have no.
Well, hey there. I wouldn't say crazy, but I do think that you have a little bit of a misconception of what's going on in this picture. So let me break it down for you. You see, Laken Riley is a young college student here in America that was brutally raped and murdered by somebody here illegally. Not undocumented, illegally. They crossed into this country. They went to New York where they were arrested. They were then let out of jail because of overcrowding. Then he went down to Georgia where he brutally raped and murdered this young woman while she was going out for a run. Okay? The president of the United States that has absolutely allowed these illegal people to come into this country illegally, because it is a crime to cross into this country illegally. I'm sure you know that, but here we go. That's besides the point. The president of the United States has absolutely allowed this to happen, couldn't be bothered to even call this family or even give his condolences. You see, then the State of the Union happened, where Marjorie Taylor Greene gave him a pin with Laken's name on it, and basically during his speech said, say her name, when he started talking about the border and how great of a job he's done during the State of the Union. And when he was forced to say her name, he then could not say her name correctly at all, where he called her Lincoln instead of Laken, okay? So then Laken's mother came out publicly and said, Mr. President, if you're going to be forced to say my daughter's name, then at least have the respect to say her name correctly. Her name is Laken, not Lincoln. Okay? So what Donald Trump did was he personally invited this family to come to his rally in Georgia. And then he brought them on the stage where he then made a pledge to her family stating that he was very sorry that this happened and that he would get justice for their murdered and brutally raped daughter, Laken. Okay? And when he said was this, is if and when I get elected, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to close this border and deport every single person that is here illegally and make sure that this never happens again. What he did was show this family respect. Okay? Respect for their murdered daughter. That never should have happened because this person should never have been in this country illegally, number one. And number two, when he was arrested for committing other crimes, never should have been allowed to be in this country or even let out of jail. He should have been deported immediately back to his home country where he can go murder people all he wants. So what President Trump did was bring this family on stage where he made a personal vow to them, gave them condolences. So what you're seeing is a picture that they asked him to sign after he gave them this pledge that he would get this family justice for their murdered daughter. Something that the President of the United States couldn't be bothered to do. So it seems like you're a little confused here. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, this is actually exactly what should have happened. Instead of should have been the President of the United States who absolutely allured this monster into this country and then didn't have the absolute decency to call this family and give his condolences. But yet this is the same president that over a couple years ago, when a man overdosed on fentanyl, had public memorials, 3 of them to say, during COVID, and use that as a politicized stunt, which is what everyone's calling this, a politicized stunt. What I look at this is this was my daughter and the president of the United States, who absolutely has let in over 1 million people into this country with no background checks, no medical checks, no vaccinations, and dumped them into the city where they don't know if they're criminals or not. And they murdered someone of my family, and they couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone and give me a call and at least give me the condolences that I damn sure think that family deserved. But yet the president, who's going to bring me up on stage and talk to me personally and privately. They didn't have to go up there. They went there at an invitation by Donald Trump. That picture is what the picture that they brought with them that they asked him to sign, and where he gave them an absolute pledge that he would make this right. He would give justice to this family, justice for their murdered daughter. The murdered daughter that the president of the United States that has absolutely allowed this to happen couldn't be bothered to do. So I don't understand what you think is crazy about this or bad about this. This is not an illegal citizen. This is not an undocumented citizen. This is an illegal migrant that walked across the border, committed crimes in this country, got arrested, and then let back out to then commit another crime. So what I would like you to do is think about this for 1 second. What if this was your daughter? What if this was your daughter that was going out for a run, has a nice long college, life ahead of her to become a nurse, to go into this field to help people, that was brutally murdered because of the president's horrible policies that has allowed this to happen? And you think this is what? Bad? You think it's bad that she went on stage with Donald Trump at his invite? You think it's bad that the president who's running in this next election has vowed to give their murdered daughter justice? You think this is bad? Why? Because the president of the United States called this person an illegal migrant? Because that's exactly what he is. He's an illegal person that crossed into this country, which is a crime, illegally, where he has committed murder, was let out, and committed another murder. And you think this is wrong? You think it's wrong that Donald Trump basically said to her, they didn't have to go out on that stage. They didn't have to go there. He invited them. They went. He brought them up. They were totally okay with this because the president of the United States, old Joe Biden, couldn't be bothered to even give this family a call, couldn't be bothered to even show them condolences for what has happened to their beautiful daughter. So I don't understand what part you didn't get in this entire video. I know you that this is some kind of a flex against Donald Trump, but what I'm going to tell you is if this was my daughter, I absolutely would want the president of the United States to call me because the failed policies that he has done with this border by letting in over 1 million people with no background checks, no money, no jobs, no nothing, and just dump them into this country where they have did crime after crime after crime. This isn't the only crime that has been committed by an illegal person that has come into this country. I would suggest you do a little bit of a deep dive in that. There's been quite a few, even against smaller children than Laken. So what this was the president running in this next election, bringing this family and this grieving mother on stage to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to make this right. If I get elected, I'm going to close the border once again, and I'm going to deport these people that have zero business being here. So I don't understand what part was for you to understand, but that's exactly what happened. That's the whole kit and caboodle. So I know it's not as much fun to put it up on social media for clout and likes and all that, but that's exactly what happened. This beautiful young woman was murdered. And she was murdered horribly. And the president who has allowed this to happen couldn't be bothered to give her a call, a letter, a nothing. And when he did, being forced to say her name, couldn't even say it correctly. So yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all that Donald Trump brought this grieving mother up there to say that he would make a pledge to her, that he would make sure that when he got elected, he would make sure this never happened on his watch. And you think that's a bad thing? That's what's wrong with this country. Honest to God. Because you never stop and think about this if it was something that was in your family. What if it was your daughter? Would you want the president of the United States to actually say and make a pledge to you that this is not going to happen again? If he gets elected, he's going to make sure that he closes that border and deports these people that have zero business being here. They are not undocumented citizens, my dear. They are illegal migrants that have come into this country thanks to Joe Biden and his failed border policies. So no, this isn't crazy. This is a grieving mother that had her daughter brutally taken from her. And the man who allowed this to happen couldn't be bothered to even, one, call her, give her condolences, or even pronounce her daughter's name right. But now the guy that is bringing her up and is offering condolences and is offering that this is never going to happen again and he's going to make sure if he gets elected, you think is what? Bad? Because he signed a picture of their dead daughter? Yeah. All right, just so we're clear.